What's going on, people? It's your boy Javier Javier with the Javier Javier Show. Make sure you say it twice. I got a special guest with me right now. I got my boy Michael in the building. Say what's going on, Michael.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's great to be here. I'm a Javier Javier Show. I said it twice.
Yeah. I appreciate that. So we decided to do something different. I usually talk politics and I usually talk religion, but I'm also about culture. And I think you was a perfect guy to talk to about this. So kind of let the viewers know what it is you do, what's your background, and let's get into it.
So yeah, my name is Michael. I'm a coach, consultant, and a teacher, and I've been working with people for almost a decade now. What coaching is all about is helping people to reach their maximum potential, helping people to grow stronger, become the best version of themselves. So it's all about setting goals, reaching your goals, improving your habits, time management, communication skills, a whole range of abilities that will delve into philosophy and psychology in various different ranges. A great way to think about it is it's kind of like mixed martial arts, but you can think of it as mixed mental arts, where whatever you need, we can pull out and use it to make you work as well as possible. Consulting is very similar, except instead of focusing on you, I'm focusing on your business, your brand, helping you achieve your professional business goals, helping you market your brand and so on. And then teaching, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. So there's a lot of teaching that goes into both of those as well.
Oh, definitely. So I'm a business major. I actually got my degree in business. So maybe that's a good place to start as far as marketing goes and whatnot, because as I started my YouTube channel, I noticed that there's a whole lot that goes into it. And for anybody out there who's thinking about getting into business or marketing or some sort, like, where would a person begin to even start, and what direction should they head in, given the fact that they're trying to start a new idea or something that they've never done before? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, the first thing you have to look at is, what are you already good at, right? If you're trying to start a business, you can't start a business unless you have something to offer people. So you have to offer them a service or a product of some kind. And people are often very confused about making money. People think, oh, money, 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 I'm going to make it, I'm going to be rich. It's not that simple. You shouldn't think about the money first. That's the mistake people make. You should think about, what do I have to offer? Now, once you have that pinned down, the next thing you're going to think about is, who am I offering it to? So you think about your audience or your customer, because you always have to remember, like, people, when they make, for example, a YouTube channel or podcast, they try to make it about them, right? Well, I'm gonna just talk about what I like, and then people are gonna come and join me, and it's gonna be great. Well, no, if you do it that way, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But if you think about, okay, what do people need? Is there a hole in the market right now? Is there a need for something that I can provide? That's a good place to start, I would say.
Yeah, that sounds pretty legit, you know. I know when I first started the YouTube channel, I was kind of in the sense of, I need to get these thoughts out and I need to express myself. And the more that I'm moving forward with YouTube, I'm starting to realize that it's not necessarily about pushing my ideas out there. It's about conversing with other people and getting them engaged in the conversation and learning from one another, because it's a lot of that's we're missing in society right now. Everybody's like, my side versus your side, instead of, hey, what can I learn from you, right? So I'm a student of yours. You're teaching me, right? I walk into your classroom, and who is the guy that I meet? What exactly is it that draws a person into what you do and your personality? Who are you as a person?
Well, it's a tough question. You got me with a tough question, man. The first thing I would say is, when I talk about personality, I point out to people, people think, okay, who am I is a big question. Who am I really? Who's my real self? Well, the truth is, with my wife, I'm a husband. With my son, I'm a father. With my students, I'm a teacher. With my clients, I am that which they need in the moment. right?
Mm.
So if you need me to kick your ass in the moment, I'm going to kick your ass. If you need me to be gentle, give you a hug, I'm going to give you a hug. But as like a people helper, a professional, it's my job to look at you and calibrate. Okay, what do you need right now? So that's what I would say. But if I were to say one thing overall, I'm a support. I'm here to help people clarify, help people understand. And just like you said, I'm not about telling you what to think, what to believe. I'm not about telling you in some dogmatic way, oh, there's only one way and this is the way you have to do it. No, let's look where you are and let's find the best way for you. Kind of, you can think about it like I'm helping you try on a pair of shoes, right? I want you to buy some shoe, but it doesn't have to be the one that I want you to buy, you know?
Yeah. And how good would you say that concept translates to other areas of life? Because after listening to what you just said, I think that's a good approach when it comes to pretty much anything. When it comes to like religion, politics, or philosophy, or culture, it's about, you know, seeing where you are and being able to, you know, expand your horizon in a way and figure out what it is that you should be focusing in on. So philosophy, let's talk philosophy. And I'm trying not to jump over too many places right now, but you know, you listed off a lot of things and I'm trying to get it
Sure,
all out.
sure.
So what would you say you are philosophically at this moment? Is there any school of thought you adhere to or any philosophical ideas that you're pondering at the moment?
Well, right now I'm big on Nietzsche. I got back into him
Everybody is.
after college. Yeah, right. Nietzsche. Stoicism is really big. Any type of like, what was it called? I was reading the other night about like positive thought movement. So there's a thought movement in the United States at the end of the 19th century, early 20th century. I forgot the name now. But I like guys, for example, like Alan Watts is really good. I was into Ayn Rand when I was younger, although now I would be critical of some of the things she said, but other things that are really, really great. There's a great quote by her where she says something like, don't let the hero in your soul perish in the mundane swamps of the not yet, the incomplete, right? The world that you want is yours. You can have it, something like that. That's a beautiful, inspirational quote. I'm a lot into different types of religions.
Oh,
When I
really?
was younger, I did like a study of various religions, and I tried to pull out and see what's similar in them. Right. I was big into just New Age spirituality as well, and then personal development, various philosophies associated with personal development. So guys like the best example is Tony Robbins. You know Tony Robbins?
Yeah, definitely. Hmm. So, have you ever thought about writing your own, like getting into philosophy on a level of writing your own philosophical ideas? Because I know when you name these big names like Nietzsche and I mean, you talk about Socrates, Pluto, all these different iconic figures, you know, it kind of makes you feel very, very small and say, hey, I'm going to try to do what these guys did.
Yeah, there's a popular saying in common culture that if you aim for the stars, and at least you'll reach the moon, something like that.
Definitely.
So I guess you could use that as a starting point, like, oh, I'm gonna write a world changing philosophy and go down in history. And for sure, I'm sure that's an idea that a lot of people play with. I was obsessed with it when I was younger for a long time. But what I learned is that when you're setting a goal for yourself, the important thing is to focus on what's in front of you, what's the next step. So for me personally, I will not write a philosophical, like an academic philosophical work, right? If you want to write an academic philosophical work, you have to go get a PhD, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's not what I'm about, because I find one of the things that I'm critical about the academy is they're too abstract, right? They philosophize, they debate, they talk about, oh, what's the meaning of this or the meaning of that? Does language have any meaning? Is morality relative, or is it
Objective.
absolute, and so on?
Yeah.
But they never take the next step to be like, oh, well, how does that apply to my life, right? Because let's say I figure out, okay, morality is absolute, and here's the evidence, and here's the proof, and nobody can nobody can disprove it. Okay, that's first of all, that's impossible. But let's say by some miracle I did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that mean for my daily life? Does that change how I talk with the people that I meet? Does that change how I talk with my wife? Does that change how I drive my car? Right? These are the areas that you need to focus on, because that's where the rubber meets the road. So if you want to do a big project like writing a book, you would start out, I mean, the first thing you would do is you have to allocate time for it. And then you have to say, every day at this hour, I'm going to spend 45 minutes working on my book. And you start from there.
Yeah. So I'm writing a book right now. So since you brought that up, and I got two separate points that I want to make, because I don't want to get off the subject of philosophy.
Sure.
But just to take a side road, I'm writing a book right now, and I try to put time to the side to actually write this book. But what I find is a lot of people work good when it comes to mapping out what you're going to do in your book. And that doesn't work for me. I'm more, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to let the characters take me on the journey. Is there a good thing about that, or is it just dependent upon the person? Or like, what strategy should a person really be taking when actually writing a piece of work?
I mean, the first thing, it sounds like you're writing a piece of fiction.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. I think the best thing, the easiest way is to first create your characters. So you create your characters. So you do like, this guy's all about this guy's all about this guy's all about this. The next thing is you create the world, and then, like you said, you put them into the world. You could again, this is like, we would have to get into, I don't know how personal and how many details you want to divulge into this, but we would have to get into the details of how you work, how you function.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, the other thing I would recommend to look at is archetypes. So there's a guy, I forgot his name now. But the hero's journey, if you look up the hero's journey, you'll see. And so the hero's journey is Star Wars, Harry Potter, to a certain extent, James Bond, Batman. This is a universal archetype in fiction that's been used in storytelling for thousands and thousands of years, ever since, Odysseus and Beowulf.
Oh yeah.
So, but Star Wars is one of the best examples. It's a classic hero's journey.
Yeah, and I see that archetype basically presented in a lot of our fiction, in movies, comic books, all over the place. And so I'll give you a little background. I'm not gonna give you too much detail, but basically the fiction that I'm writing is based on my life, but it's only inspired by certain like events that happen in my life. But I kind of got an overarching idea on where I want the story to go. But as I'm writing, I know the characters, but every now and then a new character comes along that I didn't previously plan for, because I'm like, oh, that person was there or involved with this situation. Let me write them in. And I'm afraid of getting lost in the story and not being able to wrap it all together tightly.
Right.
So should I revamp, and should I try to create a new structure to make sure that I'm heading in the right direction that I want?
Well, I mean, you already have it sounds like you've already started a good chunk of it. You said you have that overarching idea. So the first thing I would do is write down that overarching idea. Is it written down?
Yes, it is.
You have it written down. Okay. And then the next thing is set yourself some guidelines, like where do you want the hero to end up at the end of the story, right? So at least you know that if you do get off track or whatever, it's like, okay, somehow this hero has to get back on track because he has to end up there. Man, just at the very least, set yourself, and then like write the last chapter first, and then later, of course, you can rewrite it, but
it'll get you in the direction that you need to go by the time you get to the end. Now,
exactly.
let's tie that back into the philosophy that we were talking about. And I'm under the impression that so many of these guys have written philosophical books and pieces of work that we all at some point come across in life. In order to be, I personally think, in order to be an effective philosopher, you have to know what it is that you're competing against, and you have to know the work, because you don't want to write something that's already been written. It's kind of like reinventing the wheel, but you don't know it.
Sure.
And that's the thing that's scary about philosophy. It's like, there's so many guys out there who've already said what you're thinking.
Mhm.
You don't want to regurgitate the same ideas. So
Mhm.
do you have like if you were going to sit down and write a book about philosophy, how would you go about that for anybody who's interested in philosophy?
Boy, that's another big question.
I'm
We
all about
got
them.
to cut it down.
Okay.
The first thing is, like, you're 100% correct. It's really hard to write something that hasn't already been written. So to get over that, you have to remember, okay, maybe this idea has been presented before, but it has not been presented by me. It has not been presented in the way that I present it. So it's kind of like there's a million rap songs out there, right? But the rap of Javier Javier, by the way, guys, check out Javier's rap. It's badass. Um,
Yeah.
the rap songs of Javier Javier are going to be different. It's going to be your style. And, and somebody cynical might come along and say, oh, Javier, oh, you're copying this guy, and, oh, it's already been done, and blah, 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 blah. But you can't listen to the haters like that, right?
Shout out to the haters.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the first thing. And then the other thing, philosophy is a strange discipline because it's one of the few disciplines that a philosophical argument is, what is philosophy? Right? Philosophy is self-reflective in this sense. So philosophers can't even agree on exactly what it is that they're doing. So that's
Yeah. And it, like you said earlier, it's hard to translate those ideas into application in real world situations and scenarios. And I'm guessing, I know there's this debate about whether or not philosophy is science. And a lot of people argue that philosophy is a science. And a lot of people argue it's not. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
Well, to me, science, you break it down to two things. First, you have the scientific method, and that is a method of discovery. And in a way, we're all scientists in this sense because we all do the scientific method, like the basic method of trial and error. Right? You try something, does it work? No, you try something else. All right? You start with the hypothesis. I think that if I touch the stove, I'm not going to burn my hand. So let's see. I burned my hand. Okay, my hypothesis was wrong. I'm not touching that stove again.
True that.
But the second thing is empiricism. So empiricism is the idea that it's an epistemological way of gaining knowledge, that you gain knowledge through the five senses, through observation. So is philosophy a science in the sense that it can follow the scientific method? Sure, it can be, of course. It can also be an art, more like poetry. Is it a science in the sense that it's based on the five senses, on empiricism? Not really, because in philosophy, you're thinking about things that maybe you're thinking about empiricism itself. You're
Instead
thinking
of
about
running the experiment.
epistemology itself.
Yeah. It's more thinking about the experiment than actually carrying out the experiment, which a theoretical physicist would kind of fall in the idea of a philosopher because they do it theoretically. They're not the actual ones who do the experiments. That's interesting. Yeah. So let's get back. You said something about you were studying religions for a while and you were trying to abstract what it is that they had in common. What would you say you found on your journey as far as studying those religions?
Okay, here's the big question. Again, you're hitting me with the big questions, man.
I know, man. I know, and it's not intentional.
No, it's good. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So eventually, my exploration of religion led me to personal development, to psychology, and also I've been working for almost the past decade with a lot of teachers. I met a lot of teachers, and I've been able to see how the human psyche works in practice by teaching people how people learn things. And so when I got into the personal development stuff, what I kind of the way I put it to myself is personal development is the religion of neoliberal capitalism, right? So whereas religions like Christianity will promise you salvation after death, heaven, right? Buddhism will promise you nirvana, a similar idea, freedom from suffering forever and ever. but personal development promises you riches now, right?
Yeah.
It's follow these tenets and you'll make a bunch of money. And and I don't want to shit on the field that I'm working in because it's my field as well, right?
Cancel.
But
You cancel.
yeah, right. But the thing about religions in the more classical sense is what I just said, is they tend to focus your perspective on after, or on getting away from the world. And this is something Nietzsche says, that a great philosophy is a philosophy that you can live. It's a philosophy of life empowering, life affirming. And what a lot of religions do is they deny life. They say this world is not real, or they'll say that sex is a sin, you shouldn't have sex, or they'll say give away all your possessions
It's like
so that you
it's
can be
like
spiritually free.
these two. It's like you have the world and then you have the spiritual realm, and it's kind of set up in this way where the closer you get to one, you sacrifice more of the other.
Yep.
So they feel like the more you can deny the world, the closer you can become to the spiritual realm, which
Exactly.
which is unique in a way, because I see religion as a tool, and it's more so a coping mechanism in my idea. It's like, here I am faced with the reality in front of me. Am I satisfied with what I see and what I experience? If I am not, how do I best cope with it? And sometimes the best way to cope with it is to deny its very existence,
Right.
and replace it. That's powerful though, in the human psyche.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the human psyche is super powerful, and that's the key word you said, because the word psyche, the origin of the word is psyche from the Greek, which meant soul or spirit. So the way I look at it, to tie into psychology, is the spiritual aspect is our psychological aspect. It's our psyche. It's the same thing. In philosophy, you could call it the subjective part of reality versus the objective part of reality. And what you're talking about, denying your experience, that's a lot of people. That is the modus operandi of everybody alive right now. It's like, oh, I'm disturbed by what's happening. Facebook. Oh, they like me. Oh, thank God. All right.
Yeah.
It's the same exact mechanism.
That's something that I've been trying to theorize. What is the relation with religiosity when it translates to things that we don't consider to be religion? And as far as, can people become religious politically? Can people become religious when it comes to, if a person has 30 cats, have those cats become somehow, a way to mask reality and keep their mind focused on something else and I'm trying to figure this out. Could humans live without this religiosity mindset? Do you think that is a world worth living in?
Again, depends on how you look at it, because like you made a really great point. Like people can debate, even you see these debates, are you a dog person or are you a cat person, right? So how big are you into dogs? How big are you into cats? Can you turn the idea of dogs into a religion? I pray to the dog God. I have dog posters everywhere. I start barking in the park. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
In a sense, people have, it seems, the need, or what you can't escape is um, abstracting reality, projecting reality in our minds. So you even go back as far as those caves in France, the first cave drawings. And the theory on those is that they would draw the animals so that later their hunt would be successful. So it was like they were projecting the future onto the cave, so that and it was a form of like magical thinking. So in this sense, we have to have a projection of our world and our psyche, of ourselves. We can't rid ourselves of that. What we can rid ourselves of, I believe, is a dogmatic approach. So dogma meaning this way is the only way. There is no other way. But then, like religion, I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there's a lot of positive things that come out of religion. So for example, one thing religion is it gives you a nice social structure. It gives more cohesion to the community. So you look at Christianity, you know, people, it's not that just people go to church on Sunday to worship. After church, they talk, they have clubs, church groups, you know, a baptism, communion, weddings, people get together and they celebrate the various aspects of life. And we need something like that, right? There's a sociological argument that sports even can be looked at like that, that people get spiritual fulfillment from rooting for the team. And you see it in common speech. People say, when the team wins, they say, yeah, we won. It's like, you're fucking sitting on the couch watching the game.
You didn't get paid for this.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not a sports guy myself, and I always look at sports fanatics or a sports fan, and I just don't get it. And I guess me being an atheist, I'm also on the other side of the fence. Like, I understand religion in a sense because I used to be religious. I grew up basically given this ideology, and I just accepted it. I didn't even know atheism existed. And I guess now that I'm an atheist, I'm stuck in this place of we atheists don't have a sense of community on the same level as people who have something to rally around. Atheists are more on the sphere of the mindset of rallying against something.
Exactly.
Which isn't positive when you really look at it. So can philosophy be a replacement for religiosity? Is that a way of a meeting of the minds? And because everybody doesn't like to debate, everybody doesn't like to. So what about those people?
Well, see, you're right onto it. You're right onto it. Is I don't like to debate either. And we were talking before you started recording. One thing I'm getting past in my life right now is this need to debate, to always prove that I'm right. And a lot of emphasis in all areas of my life. I'm always telling people, you know, I don't care what you think. It's not important to me. What I care about is what we do together. For example, what I care about is how can I help you, right? How can I ease your weight, lift the weight off your shoulders, so to speak. So when you're always against something, you always have that fight and that struggle. And debating is another manifestation of that. So if you want to be an atheist, like exactly like you said, atheists are, there is no God, right? So it's like,
well, not
like,
necessarily. It just look.
Sure.
Yeah, it's
Go
more.
for it.
I'm not convinced. Like it's like I lack a belief at this moment. I would never say there is no God. Who am I to be able to prove such a thing? I'm just a mortal man. But go ahead. I get what you're.
Yeah. Right. So not to nitpick, but the technical, I think, distinction would be to be more of an agnostic. I'm not sure. At the end of the day, I'm not sure. An agnostic, agnostic gnosis is knowing. So an agnostic says, I don't know. That's it. All right.
Yeah.
But excuse me one moment.
Yeah.
No, never mind.
Yeah.
So that completely destroyed my train of thought.
It's okay.
Agnostic says that he doesn't know. And so like a pure atheist, someone who says, and there are people like that, maybe that's not you.
Yeah, definitely.
Who say for sure there is no God. It's like, if I were like a vegan doesn't define themselves by just saying I don't eat meat. There is that part of it, but there's also I eat vegetables. So you need to fill in the part of it. What is it that you do believe?
Yeah.
Because now if you go to the extreme of saying, well, I don't believe anything, then you're a nihilist, right?
Which I'm a nihilist. I mean, I don't even think we can understand our objective reality. I mean, I'm on in the school of thought. The only thing I can know for sure is that something is happening.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I guess a lot of my worldview stem from that basis, that premise, and a lot of people don't understand that. So a lot of people say, what about morality or values? And I'm like, it's all subjective. It's all, you know, if we lived in the Mayans, we'd be, you know, sacrificing children, and we thought that was the best thing we could possibly do that day. So how do you reconcile? Are you a believer? Are you a skeptic? How do you reconcile reality?
In that, like in the religious sense or in the moral sense?
However you want to put it.
In the moral sense, I kind of already said I think you have to set your morality based on your goals. So what is it you want to achieve, right? If you want to write a book, well, it's moral for you to work on that book every day. It's immoral. It would be immoral for you to put that instead of working on the book, you watch TV. That would be an immoral choice for you based on the goal you have set for yourself. If you want to lose weight, it's immoral to eat sugar and to sit on the couch. It's moral to exercise and eat healthy, and so on and so on. So the first question I would ask in terms of morality is, what do you want out of your life? Now, if the answer, and I don't think that anybody listening to this, I've never met a person who would say the answer to that is, I want to hurt and destroy and kill others. So if that's your answer and that's what you want out of life, then you would have to really reevaluate. That would be a person who would be, borderline psychotic or have serious psychological issues that, for example, I would not be able to work with. You would have to send that to like a psychiatrist or a serious mental health professional.
And that could be that mentality could be perfectly fine if they lived in a society by themselves.
Right.
But if you live in a society with other people, all of these morals and values are attached and crossing paths on a unfathomable, just a unimaginable rate. And therefore we have to weigh what other people want in comparison to what we want and what's most effective as a society as a whole.
Exactly. That's the conflict. That's always the problem. The problem is you're limited. You always have a limitation. And so people often talk about, well, how do I be my authentic self, right? Well, the problem with being your authentic self is some of your authentic desires will hurt other people, or other people like my authentic self is I want to be naked. I want to get rid of clothes. I think clothes are a limitation. It's like, okay, start walking around outside naked. You're going to disturb a lot of people, right?
So I think that's a good thing to touch on, because right now we're living with COVID-19 and it's all over the world. Everybody is experiencing this. And there's this debate going on right now as far as, should we open up the economy and let people go back to work, or should we stay shut down, and should we avoid the risk of dying and spreading the disease? Now, my argument is, I think we should all take precautions and try to minimize the spread of the disease as best as possible. But I'm also an advocate for opening up the economy. And when I say this is, it's impossible to live in any society where your existence doesn't risk other people's health and well-being. Just by me getting in the car, I risk killing a family if I make the wrong choice. So there has to be a level of risk when you live in a society with other people. You can't control what other people do at all times. So is that a rational way of looking at it, or should we just shut down completely, or should we open up the economy?
I'm 100% of the way on you. Okay. Like we need to open up, because this is getting ridiculous. We have enough information about the virus now. We have ways of dealing with it, of treating it. We've flattened the curve. The original purpose of the shutdown was to flatten the curve so that hospitals don't get overwhelmed. Now you're seeing a situation where some hospitals, a friend of mine who's a nurse, she said, our census is low and they're cutting my hours. I'm like, okay, there's not people in the hospitals. So let's open up. The hospitals are not going to get overwhelmed. We've already had a portion of the population catch the virus. We know for a fact that 50 to 60% of people who get it show no symptoms or super mild symptoms. So a lot of people might have already had it. They just don't even know. And just like you said, it makes absolutely no sense to shut down the entire economy for the sake of saving a tiny, tiny minority of people. And again, in a lot of these COVID deaths, the truth about it is that these people had other diseases. They died of other things, but they're being put in as COVID. One of the reasons is because the hospitals will get extra funding from the state the more COVID deaths that they report. So it's a lot of fuckery in this thing, and
there's this media narrative that a lot of people are buying into, and therefore when I say something reasonable, just like you just said, then you're met with some kind of some kind of rebuttal. Whereas, one life is not worth opening up the economy, and they don't understand how many people will die
Right.
for the result of not opening the economy. It's like it's not even registering because the media is telling people they don't care about lives, they don't care about saving people, and it goes back to this mindset because I want to tie this back into the psychology of it, the human psyche. What is it that makes somebody on the left and somebody on the right, or somebody who likes vanilla and chocolate? Why is it that we're so different given the same amount of information? Why is it that we go separate ways and we all have the same information?
I mean, that there's a lot of ways to look at it, but the first thing that comes to mind is tribalism. Everybody wants to be on a team. I'm on team chocolate, you're on team vanilla. We have to fight. We like, as human beings, we like competition. This is more of the evolutionary answer, right? As when we were evolving before civilization, we were tribes and we had to hunt. So now we still have that urge to hunt in our genes. So how do we express it? One way to express it is we fight against the person who's not in our tribe, the enemy tribe. But what I would say another way to express it is through creativity, by changing the world, by, like I said, creating a service or a product or a work of art or something that you can offer to others. That in itself is a form of struggle that, in my opinion, is more productive. But the thing is that most people are operating on a very low level of consciousness. So they cannot see beyond, I'm part of my team and my team is always right. And everybody who's not in my team is wrong. So either you get in my team or you're fucked.
Yeah. And I see that a lot. What amazes me are people who are on one team, and for some mysterious reason, they accept everything that team has to say. And I'm just like, no human being is that simplistic. We're all complicated. You know, I refuse to say I'm conservative and I agree with everything that the conservatives are for. It's just impossible. So, like you said, it's that tribalistic mentality. And
it's not just tribalism. It's also, like I said, the low level of consciousness. People want everything served to them on a platter, especially in our day and age. If it's not like a simple 1, 2, 3 step plan, then my brain shuts off. Like I can't like, there's colors between black and white? What?
Yeah, definitely. And I was thinking about pattern recognition and how we picked up on the fact that if this happens, then it must be the result of this. And then there's these blind spots where we don't understand something. So we need to apply a pattern to it. So we make up one. We totally fabricate a pattern just for some reason. It calms our minds in a way, and it can be translated into all different areas. So how do you teach your children to think critically and to battle some of these dogmas or tribalistic mindsets? Like, is that something you reach for when you're teaching?
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, it all depends on the situation, on the moment. It's like I work just like we're doing right now, like in complete flow, to see what's up. But just recently, just to give you an example, I'm working with a group of kids who, and they're having behavioral problems. And so I got with them into a discussion of, do you all care about each other? And so in the beginning, they were like, yeah, we care about each other. But there was one kid who's like, no, I don't care about everybody here. I'm like, that's great. You don't have to care about everybody here. But then I said, so can we at least agree on, you don't want to hurt anybody here? It's like, okay, everybody could agree on that. So I said, okay, so when you're talking to each other, go from that place. And so if you want to transcend the tribal mentality, you have to think about, go back to what you want. What do you want the world to be in? And it's to be like, and it's that cliche, you see that meme, the Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see in the world. Like, I hate that quote and I love it. I hate it because everybody posts it, but nobody lives it, right? Everybody loves to say it, but nobody lives it. It's always, the problem is always out there. The problem is never me. And so one thing I encourage people to do is look, if you want, for example, if you want your wife to start acting a certain way, look, what can you change within yourself?
Yeah.
First, what can you change within yourself to help her to provoke the reaction that you want?
Hmm. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I think this is like training that everybody could really use, and it's sad to say that the education system is failing a lot of people. And I think it's more than just 1+1=2 application. It has to be a level of how do we operate in a society where there's so many competing interests, and I don't think the education system is prepared for a lot of what it is, like a lot of lessons that we're talking about right here, right now, and people understanding the world they actually live in and learning how to think their way through it. And we see the repercussions of that. So if anybody's listening to this, if anybody was able to gather this message from you, what is it that you would say to them? What would be your final thoughts if you could reach a kid right now, a 5-year-old, 10-year-old, even a 20-year-old? What would you say to somebody to kind of help them along this journey of life?
Hmm. The first thing to a kid or to everybody, I would say every moment is a chance to learn something. Don't think that education means going to school. School is a building. School is a system. School is a structure. You are educated everywhere when you're with your family, when you're with your friends, when you're reading a book, when you're watching TV, when you're on social media. In every moment, you can learn something. So approach a situation with that curious mindset of what can this teach me? What can I take away from this? How does this add to who I am? Or what can how does this show me that there's something I need to eliminate from who I am? Take your life seriously because it goes quickly, right? I'm approaching middle age now and I'm shocked. How the hell did this happen? Uh, the one thing is time is an illusion. All you have is now. So 10 years, 20 years, it's going to pass like that. You're always now, right? Javier and I have been talking for a good almost hour now. I feel like we just started. So you really don't use the excuse of, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. As they say, tomorrow never comes. You might not have later. It could end right now. You could get fucking COVID and die tomorrow, right?
Right.
but so take it seriously and work your ass off. Don't waste your time like your peers. Just because it's normal, just because everybody does it, doesn't mean it's good for you. Don't waste your time drinking, smoking, participating in this low culture type of activity. Go and always reach for something better. And that's going to be really, really hard. I understand that's going to be really, really hard, but also search out for support. As corrupt as the system might seem to be, as evil as it might seem to be, there are bright spots everywhere. Whether it's a teacher, maybe the librarian, maybe the freaking lunch lady, right? Somebody will be there that will help you if you look. There's a great saying: when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So yeah, that would be it in a
That's
nutshell.
deep. That's deep. And I think, oh man, you put that very elegantly. Oh, so is there anywhere you want people to find you? Anywhere that people can reach you, or you know?
As of right now, most of my work is just word of mouth. I don't really have an internet presence yet, but as soon as I get that up, and I'm working on that right now, I'll let you know. And maybe I could come
We
back
can do
sometime in
this
the
again,
future.
of
And
course. I mean, like you said, I feel like we just got started. Definitely. And so I really appreciate you coming on. I think we talked about some good, deep subjects, and I really think the audience is going to appreciate everything you had to say. So with that being said, subscribe to the channel, folks. Join the Hobby Lobby right now. Join this discussion, have conversations like we just had. You came, you heard, and you saw. Now run. Tell them we said it. And if they ask for us by name, make sure you say it twice. This is the Javier Javier Show.